Hey, listen up. There is a major update on the highly talked about $5,000 Doge refund check, and this might completely change how people see it. And since our last video, the conversation around this has exploded and new details are actually coming to light. All right, so a couple of questions that we're going to be talking about in this video and answering is this really a stimulus check? Who actually qualifies for it? And more importantly, is this actually happening, or is this just some political promise? So today we're going to be breaking down all those things in simple terms so you know exactly what's going on. But first, you want to make sure that you stay on top of the updates on the stimulus checks, tax refunds, any major financial updates. You want to make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification. So let's get into it. All right. So let's talk about the Doge refund check. All right. So a lot of people have been calling this a stimulus check, but that's not entirely accurate. All right. So, unlike stimulus payments that were issued during the pandemic, this uh, was actually designed as a direct economic relief to be able to help struggling families and boost consumer spending. That's what happened during the pandemic. The so called Doge refund check is being framed as a tax refund rather than a government handout. So, one of the big distinctions and differences between these is that the stimulus checks are typically funded through new government spending, meaning that the government has to borrow money or be able to use some of its budgets to be able to go ahead and pay it to the public. The Doge refund check, on the other hand, that is completely different. So instead of increasing government spending, it's actually intended to be like a return for taxpayer money saved through the government efficiency measures through Doge. All right. So, how does this exactly work? So, the proposal behind the Doge refund check is based on a plan by the Department of Government Efficiency, also known as Doge. It's a newly proposed initiative aiming at eliminating wasteful government spending and reallocating those savings back to the taxpayers. All right. So, here's how the plan is supposed to work. All right. So, number one of the things that they're supposed to be doing is identifying wasteful spending. So that's their main initiative. And they're supposed to be conducting a deep audit of the government spending to be able to pinpoint any unnecessary spending, anything that is inefficient, redundant. And this could also include excessive administrative costs, outdated programs, and mismanaged funds. All right. So one of the ideas with this is they're going to reallocate those savings to the taxpayers. So instead of funneling these savings into some other government programs or being able to use it to pay off the government debt, the plan actually proposes that they're going to return 20% of the total savings directly back to households as a refund check. All right, so some of the projected savings goals. So if Doge is actually successful in doing this and cuts 2 trillion in wasteful spending, then about 79 million taxpaying households could be able to be eligible for a $5,000 refund. All right. And on paper, this sounds great. It sounds amazing for taxpayers. But to get back a substantial amount, essentially a return of funds that would have otherwise been lost to the government inefficiency. So here is where things kind of get complicated on how this works, right? So right now, Doge has only identified 55 billion in savings. So that is a huge difference from 55 billion to 2 trillion, which is their target, right? To be able to fully fund these checks. So that means if the refund actually happens at all, it might not be as high as $5,000 per person. So it may take much longer than that to be able to even hit that number. But this has raised some serious questions about whether the plan is financially realistic or is it just hype. So that brings us to another major question as it relates to this. All right. So now, even if the refund check becomes a reality, not everyone's going to be eligible for it. All right. So, unlike some of the previous stimulus checks, which are often given to people based on the level of income that they make or the size of their house, this refund is being positioned as like a direct return of tax dollars. So, which means that in order to be able to qualify for it, there's going to be more rules and there's going to be more restrictions with this. All right. So let's talk about who actually qualifies for this. So number one, it's going to be tax-paying households only. So to actually be able to qualify for this, you must be part of a household that actively pays federal income taxes. That means that you must have filed your tax return and pay more in taxes than you would have received back in credits or deductions. All right, so middle and upper class earners are probably going to benefit the most from this. So, since the refund is based on tax contributions, individuals and families who pay higher federal income taxes are most likely to see the full $5,000 payout if this actually is fully funded. All right. Next, working professionals and business owners. So, those people who actually earn wages, salaries, or self employment income and pay a net positive amount in federal taxes will also be able to benefit from this as well. So, let's talk about who may not necessarily be able to benefit from this, right? So, unfortunately, low income Americans, mainly low income individuals and family paying little to no federal income taxes due to credits like the earned income tax credit. If you're receiving a child tax credit, as well, chances are you may reduce your chances of being able to qualify for this. If you're a retiree or also receiving Social Security, seniors who rely primarily on those benefits and don't have any taxable income may not necessarily qualify for this refund. So it's caused a huge debate, and a lot of people are arguing that retirees have spent decades paying into the system and they should be included. But unfortunately, based on where it stands right now, they won't necessarily be included with this. People who are tax exempt individuals, so certain groups such as individuals who earn income below the taxable income threshold, or those people who receive non-taxable government assistance may also be excluded from this as well. So there's a lot of debate on who actually deserves this money, right? So the eligibility requirements has caused like a lot of debate on who actually should be able to benefit from this program. So people are arguing that if this is true, and they're supposed to be able to do a refund of public funds, it should be given to everyone who's contributed to the economy, regardless of their tax status. So they believe that people who are retirees, low income individuals, and workers, people on Social Security should not be excluded on this just because they don't owe any federal income taxes. Also, people who support this plan, on the other hand, argue that a tax refund should only be given to those who actively pay federal income taxes. And they claim that being able to give out the refund to non-tax paying people would actually defeat the purpose of returning the excess government savings and turn it into another government stimulus check rather than a tax rebate for overspending, right? So obviously, as you can imagine, there's a lot of political conversation about this. Trump has voiced his support for the idea. So he's saying that the government savings should go back to the taxpayers. Of course, Elon Musk is going to be a huge advocate for it. He's for this initiative. He's pushed for more efficient government spending. However, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and several Republican senators have raised concerns as it relates to this. And they're saying that the focus should be on paying down the national debt before making a refund promise out to taxpayers, right? So some lawmakers actually warn that unless real savings are confirmed, promising a $5,000 refund could be misleading. And that brings us to probably one of the most important questions of all. Will this actually happen? All right. So as of now, nothing is guaranteed. Doge has only been able to find 55 billion in savings, which is a huge difference from 2 trillion, which is needed to be able to do this $5,000 refund and check. A bill also needs to make the refund official, and to be able to allow it to be passed. And there's nothing that's been passed yet. Even if it does pass, it would still have to get past Congress, which could take months, even years for it to happen. So the bottom line is this: right now, this is just a proposal. And until we actually see some savings and approval from Congress, this is not something that you should count on yet. So let me know what you think. Should the government prioritize refunding taxpayers, or should they just focus on reducing the debt first? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.